Hey everyone, and welcome back. You know why you're here, right? To get smarter, faster, and today it's about something that literally impacts every single one of us.
We're talking about eating. And specifically, this whole idea of when to eat, which is the focus of Chapter 9 from, well, let's just say one of the most thought-provoking sources we've come across.
And it is thought-provoking, isn't it? I mean, we all have to eat. It's so basic. Yet somehow it feels like there's just endless debate and confusion around it.
Absolutely. Intermittent fasting, calorie counting, eating windows, grazing all day.
Yeah.
It's like, how are we supposed to know what's actually right?
Right. Which is why this deep dive is going to be so interesting, I think. Because Chapter 9, it cuts through all that noise and really gets down to a fundamental principle, like a core truth. And it says this: always eat when you have an earned hunger, and never eat when you are not hungry.
And what's so powerful about how this is presented is, it's not just some diet tip or trendy hack. It's framed as like aligning yourself with the natural laws of your body, a universal principle of how we're designed to function.
Yeah, I love that. It's like tapping into our innate wisdom. But okay, let's unpack this. The chapter starts by talking about the subconscious mind. Like, how does that even play into when we eat?
Well, think of it this way. Our subconscious mind is this incredible, behind-the-scenes operator handling all these essential bodily processes. It's regulating our heartbeat, breathing, and yes, even how we digest and assimilate food, the whole process of breaking down nutrients and putting them to use.
So it's kind of like an internal control center. But what does that have to do with hunger? Is hunger just this random signal from our stomach that we need to fill it up?
Not according to this chapter. It suggests that hunger is actually a very specific communication from our subconscious mind. It's telling us, hey, your body is now both needing and capable of using more fuel.
So it's not just about needing the calories or nutrients, it's also about our digestive system being ready and primed to process them efficiently.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting. The chapter argues that if we eat when we're not truly hungry, we're basically ignoring this crucial message from our subconscious mind. And over time, that can actually throw off our whole digestive balance.
Oh, I see. It's like if you keep forcing your body to digest when it's not ready or doesn't truly need to, it can get kind of out of whack.
Yeah, that's the idea. It's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. It just doesn't work long term. And this leads to the chapter's really important distinction between hunger and what he calls appetite.
Ah, yes, hunger versus appetite.
Yep.
I feel like we throw those terms around interchangeably, but they're not the same, are they?
Not at all. Hunger, as we've been talking about, is that physiological need, the signal from our body that we truly require nourishment. Our cells are saying we need fuel to function.
Right. It's like a basic biological imperative. But appetite, on the other hand, is what? More of a desire, like a craving for something specific.
Exactly. It's driven by the pleasure we get from taste and sensation. Think about craving a big slice of chocolate cake or some salty, crispy fries. Is your body actually saying, give me nutrients? Or is it more about wanting that delicious taste and satisfying that craving?
So it's more like, ooh, that would feel good right now, rather than a true need for fuel.
Right. And the chapter even uses examples like a craving for alcohol or a really strong sweet tooth. Those desires, it argues, aren't coming from the same place as genuine hunger.
I see. It's like those late night cravings when you're not actually hungry but just want something yummy. And the chapter also mentions that appetite can become habitual, right?
Yes, absolutely. It talks about how if we're used to eating at a certain time each day, like always having breakfast at 8 a.m., our bodies can start anticipating food then, even if we're not actually hungry. Especially if it's something sugary or stimulating, that just reinforces the habit even more.
So we kind of condition ourselves to feel hungry at specific times, even though it's not true hunger?
Exactly. And what's really insightful here is that the chapter points out that true hunger often arises after our bodies have actually been active. When work or exercise has used up some of our resources, and there's a genuine need for replenishment.
Okay, I get it. It's like you've got to earn your hunger, you've got to deplete some of your reserves first, and that leads us to the whole breakfast thing, right?
Yes. The chapter dives right into this big question. Do we absolutely need to eat breakfast first thing in the morning? And it challenges that common belief pretty directly.
I was curious about that. It's like drilled into us that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. But what does the chapter say about that?
It explains that when we sleep, our bodies are doing amazing repair and rejuvenation work. They're busy processing the previous day's food and kind of resetting for the day ahead. So unless you went to bed actually hungry, the chances of waking up with true hunger are, surprisingly, pretty low.
So if I had a good dinner and wasn't starving before bed, I probably don't need to eat right when I get up.
That's what the chapter is suggesting. It goes on to say that that early morning meal, for many people, is more likely driven by appetite, by habit, and routine, rather than actual hunger.
Okay, I'm starting to see this whole thing in a new light. So when does the chapter suggest we should have our first meal, if not right away in the morning?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting, because it introduces something called the no breakfast plan. Now, before anyone panics, it's not about never eating breakfast ever again.
Right, it's not a ban on breakfast.
Exactly. It's about delaying that first meal until you actually feel true earned hunger. It's all about aligning your eating with your body's natural rhythms and needs.
Okay, so it's not necessarily about what you eat for breakfast, but when you eat it.
You got it. It's about waiting until your body gives you that clear signal that it's actually ready and needing to refuel. And this aligns perfectly with that core principle we started with. Never eat until you have an earned hunger.
I can hear some of our listeners now thinking, but wait, I love my morning pancakes. Or I can't function without my coffee and toast. I mean, breakfast is a ritual for a lot of people.
Absolutely. And the chapter acknowledges those feelings. It points out that for many, the enjoyment of breakfast is largely a learned behavior, a habit we formed over time. We associate it with certain feelings and routines, and we derive pleasure from those things.
So it's not that there's anything inherently wrong with enjoying breakfast. It's just that maybe we've come to believe we need it when we really don't.
Precisely. And to support this, the chapter highlights that a lot of people thrive without eating first thing in the morning. They delay their first meal, they listen to their bodies, and they find they have just as much, if not more, energy and focus throughout the day.
Okay, so the chapter doesn't give a hard and fast rule about never eating breakfast, but it really encourages us to examine our habits and see if they're truly serving us.
Exactly. And it keeps coming back to that central idea. Honor your body's signals. Eat when you have a true earned hunger, and don't eat when you don't.
So, for those who are intrigued by this no breakfast concept and want to maybe experiment with it, when does the chapter suggest having that first meal? Like, is there a general guideline?
Yes, it's suggested for most people, aiming for that first meal around 12 o'clock noon is a pretty good starting point. The thinking is that for most people, by midday, you've been up and active for a while, you've used up some energy, and true hunger is likely to have kicked in.
Okay, so 12 o'clock is a good sort of benchmark, but again, it's not a strict rule, right? It's more about tuning into your individual needs.
Exactly. It emphasizes that flexibility. It says, if you're truly hungry around noon, great, eat. But if not, wait a bit longer until you are.
It all comes back to that internal awareness, really paying attention to what our bodies are telling us.
Yes. And what about after that first meal? Like, throughout the rest of the day, does the chapter recommend any specific eating schedule?
Yeah, I'm curious about that too. Like, how often should we eat? 2 meals a day? 3? 5? What's the magic number?
Well, the chapter doesn't give a specific number of meals. It essentially applies that same principle of earned hunger to every meal, not just breakfast. It says we shouldn't eat again until we feel a genuine need for more fuel.
So basically, we eat when we're hungry and stop when we're satisfied, regardless of what time it is or how many hours it's been since our last meal.
Exactly. Of course, it recognizes that sometimes life gets in the way and we have to eat at times that might not perfectly align with our ideal hunger cues.
Right, like work schedules or social events. We can't always be perfectly in sync with our bodies.
Of course. But the key takeaway is that we should always strive to prioritize our body's natural signals whenever possible. It's about making conscious choices that support our overall well-being, rather than just blindly following external rules or habits.
I love this. It's so empowering, isn't it? It puts us back in the driver's seat of our own health. But before we wrap up, I just want to go back to something the chapter said early on. It mentioned that these recommendations are based on natural law. What exactly does that mean?
It's basically saying that these aren't just random ideas or the latest fads. They're rooted in observing how our bodies are designed to function, in harmony with nature's principles. It's about recognizing that our bodies have an innate intelligence, and if we listen to them, they'll guide us towards what's best for us.
That's beautiful. So it's not about rigidly following some diet plan. It's about learning to trust our own internal wisdom.
Exactly. And that in itself can be a pretty profound shift in how we approach our health and well-being.
Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive into Chapter 9 on when to eat, what's the most important takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
I think the core message is this. The natural and healthy time to eat is when you experience genuine, earned hunger. And it is never the right time to eat when you are not hungry. Full stop.
And I think what's so critical is that we really start to pay attention to the difference between true physiological hunger and that other type of hunger, the one that's often driven by habit, cravings, or just the clock.
Absolutely. It's like learning a new language, the language of our own bodies. And it's a language that can tell us so much if we just take the time to listen.
So here's a thought-provoking question for you to consider. If you start to consciously shift your eating habits to align with this principle of true hunger, how might that affect other aspects of your life? Your energy, your mood, your sleep, your overall sense of well-being? It's really something to ponder, isn't it?
It is. And maybe, just maybe, that same principle of listening to our inner wisdom, of honoring our natural rhythms, can extend beyond just eating. Maybe it's a key to living a more aligned and fulfilling life in general. Food for thought, right?
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. It's been a really insightful exploration, and we hope you've gained some valuable food for thought, pun intended. We'll be back soon with another fascinating topic.
Until then.
See you then.